Hello, welcome to the Hawthorn Cottage Craft Podcast. This is episode 40. Today is Friday the 1st of January 2021, so Happy New Year. It is lovely for you to join me on this first day of our new year. I'm Kate. You can find me on Instagram as Kate_Hawthorn Cottage Craft, on Ravelry as a runner bean, and we have a Ravelry group for the podcast called Hawthorn Cottage Craft Podcast, and those are all linked in the description box below. I hope you have your beverage of choice. I'm tucking into a lovely cappuccino. The joys of getting a frother for Christmas. We have a lot to catch up on, and I'm surrounded by lots of stuff that I want to talk about, and it'll be lovely to share with you the knitting plans for this year. Thank you very much for everyone who watched my Vlogmas episodes. There was a month of vlogging and I really enjoyed it this year. It was very different this year with no outings to record. Everything was really home based. But that was fun too, just stopping and looking at what was going on at home. If you're a new viewer here, you're very welcome, and if you joined through Vlogmas, you're very welcome, and it was very exciting to see so many people joining the community in the last month. So you're very welcome if it's your first time or you're relatively new. If you're a returning viewer who has been here for a while, you're most welcome back. It's lovely to see you. Today, it's all about the KALS, all about the knit-alongs, and a little bit of finished objects, which I will go into later. But we'll talk about the KALS first. In the middle of Vlogmas, and it probably has got lost amongst all the Vlogmas episodes, but I will link it. There was a little podcast episode, number 39, and it was a flurry of KALS, knit-alongs, crochet-alongs. They're all called knit-alongs, but crochet's perfectly acceptable. And it was two knit-alongs that I wanted to start today. I talked in that little episode about why I wanted to do these. One of them was to work through these books. So we're having a Knitting the Books KAL, and the other one was a Lucky Dip KAL, which is trying to get this stash on this top shelf down a little. We'll talk about the Knitting the Books KAL first. The Knitting the Books KAL is literally going through your books that I'm sure a lot of you have, either hard copies or ebooks, that we've all purchased. We've got excited about our shiny new book and we've seen them being promoted by other people, and we get them and we're so keen to knit something from them, and we might even mark the pages of the projects we like, and then we put them on our shelves and really promptly forget about them. So my plan for the Knitting the Books KAL is to try and fix that a little. The KAL is going to run from today, the 1st of January, until the 31st of March. And what I want you to do is pick patterns out of your books and knit them. There is a Ravelry thread that I have opened today. It had been sitting there locked until today, but there's a chatter thread and a finished object thread for both KALs. Please don't chat in the finished object thread, although I think I have found that you can prevent chat. I'm not sure if that works or not, but please don't chat in that because it's easier to draw for prizes at the end. But there's a chatter thread there too. Chat away about your project, any things that you want to encourage each other with, or ideas, giving each other ideas. The finished objects thread, what I want you to put in there is a picture of the book that you're using and a picture of your finished object. And you can enter as many times as you like, I don't mind. It can be sweaters, it can be accessories, it can be toys. There really are very few rules to this. The only rule is that it's out of a book or an ebook, not from your Ravelry queue, unless that particular pattern is in one of your books, because I would have some in my queue that are in one of the books, but otherwise please stick to the book and show that in your finished object photograph. I have decided on what I'm going to do. I had possibly planned to have it already cast on, but I'm going to cast it on this afternoon. And I worked through my books. During Vlogmas, one of the things I did was, particularly for magazines, is that I took a note. I lifted them down and took a note of the patterns I liked in each magazine and where I could find them, because that's another thing, you kind of forget what's, particularly in magazines where there's a lot, that you forget what's in what. But I went to this book, and it's the Matter publication by Carrie Bostick Hogue, Anthology 1, and I've already knit the Sabella out of it a couple of years ago, I think. But I had yarn that I wanted to use, and it's this yarn. It's Roots and Rain. It's her single ply fingering weight, and Donna is an Ottawa based natural dyer, and I love her yarn. So I wanted to use this because this was given to me as a gift at Ullen Knit Retreat last year. We had a couple of ladies from Ottawa and they brought me this, and I want to use that because in the Ullen Knit Retreat group from last year, we're also doing just a little mini knit along, and we have to use something from last year. So this incorporates both. And when I was planning what I wanted to knit, I had to kind of find the patterns that had the right yardage to use this. And this came in this book. And what I am going to knit is, I'll try and get the colour picture. I should have had this marked. Is this. It's the Imogen Tea. I don't think I've enough yarn to knit sleeves. If I find that I have, I'll knit the sleeves a little longer maybe. But it's this beautiful t-shirt with a lace panel down the front. And it'll be a nice spring garment when it's finished. So that's what I am knitting from my book. For ease, I did copy the pattern so that I can stick it in my project bag, but the actual pattern is from this book. So that's the start of my KAL. My project is going to be this, and it's from this book. So enjoy going through your books. I've had so much fun just actually going through them again and revisiting them, and it's also been a useful task as well, because there have been one or two books that I've looked at again and they were almost of their time and style-wise, and I'm not sure that I actually will knit anything out of them. So those will be books that I will start to declutter and move on to another home. So it's a great thing. It's helping you work through the patterns you have, and it's helping you declutter. You're very welcome. I'm helping you with your January decluttering. So that's what I'm going to do for the KALS. So it's from the 1st of January to the 31st of March. There will be prizes. I am working on getting some prizes for that, and I will draw on the 31st of March. I'm really looking forward to seeing what you create and what you get from your books, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the books that you use in case I do want to add to my books at some point. It'll be fun to see what you're working on. The other KAL that is starting today and that is going to run all year, it's running from today, the 1st of January, until the 31st of December 2021, is the Lucky Dip KAL. I have random skeins of yarn. Most of the random skeins are on the top shelf, and they're mostly fingering weight. I have a few random skeins of double knit or Aran. The weight of yarn that you use does not matter in this project, in this KAL, but it can be no more than 100 grams. So it's your single skeins that are hanging around. The only time you can use two is if it's something like Knit Picks Felice that is a 50-gram ball. It's just no more than 100 grams. So you're using your random skeins. What I did, and again it's in that episode 39, is I picked 12 skeins of yarn. Just random skeins of yarn. What I should have done in hindsight is got my family or someone else to pick out the 12 skeins so that I really didn't know what was coming. But I got the skeins and I put them into little paper bags. You can put them into anything you want, just as long as you can't see what's inside the little package, and I've put them just very precariously into a basket. The only one that I know of is this one, and I have it marked with a ribbon, and that's my December knit, and that's, well, I'll tell you all in December what it is. I think I did tell you in that episode 39, so if you're really keen to know, it's there. But that's my December one. It's a Christmassy colourway. But the rest are in the bags. I have no clue. I haven't marked them in any way as to what's in each bag. And you can knit anything as long as it just takes the 100 grams. It could be socks, it could be a hat, it could be a small cowl, it could be mitts, anything that uses up those random skeins. So any weight of yarn and 100 up to 100 grams. So I actually got James to pull today's for me. So this is my January knit. You pull one at the beginning of each month, and that is your, you can knit more things obviously, but that is your Lucky Dip KAL knit for that month. There is a Ravelry thread again, there's a chatter thread, and there is a finished object thread, so it'll be one entry per month. At the end of each quarter I will draw a mini prize from that quarter, and then on the 31st of December I will draw for the quarter, but I will also draw a grand prize from all of the projects throughout the year. So you have 12 basically opportunities if you take part every month to win in December from the grand prize. I think that makes sense. So one project per month, and you don't even have to do that. I know some people want to do this, but they don't want to commit to 12. That's fine, but it's one entry per month whenever you do it. And I will pull for the prizes at the end of the quarter. I'm starting to lose my train of thought. Anyway, I got James to pull today, so I have no clue what is in today's, and this is going to be my cast on today. I suppose whatever comes out will determine what I knit. I'll probably knit socks because I think all of mine are fingering weight, so it'll probably be socks, but we'll see. So you're seeing, as soon as I'm seeing what today's is, well, I really should try to save the bags or not. I'm actually very excited about this. I'm knitting socks. This is Townhouse Yarns, her Clarendon sock base. This is quite deep stash. This must be 3 or 4 years old, if not more. Townhouse Yarns is an Irish dyer. She is one of the ladies behind This Is Knit shop in Dublin, and Woolen, the yarn festival in Dublin. So this is a colourway I bought. I loved the colour. I love the fact that the majority of it's navy, and then just these pops of colour. So that's January's knit for me. And what I also did when I was putting together these is I looked through, and I have more in a box, mini skeins and ends of fingering weight balls, plain colours, and those can be cuffs, heels and toes if I'm doing socks. So I'll pull from that as well, and I now have my yarn for January, and I can put it in my little basket. So that's what I'm working on for January. What are you working on for January? Share in the Ravelry group. Also, there are hashtags for both knit-alongs, so please share your photographs on what you're working on and your progress on Instagram. I look forward to seeing them there. And I think that's really all I need to tell you about those KALS. If there are any questions or I've left anything out, just comment below or send me a message on Ravelry and I'll try and answer your questions. I've probably forgotten something, but I think that's the main information that you need for those knit-alongs. And I'm just looking forward to seeing what you're going to do, and I'm very excited to be part of some knit-alongs again. You can obviously double dip in other knit-alongs that are going on in the podcasting knitting world. At some point I want to do a colour work sweater. Probably the next thing I do will be colour work, or colour work. I have colour work mittens. I don't know if you're allowed to do mittens or if it's just garments, but Selma, who has Little Big Knits, has a colour work mill going on that started, I think, on Christmas Eve. So I do want to take part in that too, and feel free to double dip in other ones as long as their rules allow. I don't mind you using your project elsewhere. So what have I been knitting on and what have I finished? If you followed along in Vlogmas, you'll know exactly what I've been working on, and probably are sick to the back teeth of hearing about it. But I had 2 projects over Christmas that I got finished. One of them was the heel toe do-si-do socks. I'll insert a photograph of them here because I don't have them with me. I think they're in the wash. And these were socks that I knit from London House Yarns, Merry and Bright colourway. And I used the Crazy Sock Lady Designs heel toe do-si-do socks, which are my favourite striping or pattern for self-striping yarn. You can use it in any yarn, but it really, really is effective on self-striping. And I really enjoyed this particular knit. It didn't take me long. I think I had them knit in less than 2 weeks. I knit a little on them every day, every morning with my breakfast and coffee, and I knit them I had the 2 needles going, and I would knit a bit and then get the next sock to the same stage and just work them up that way, so I never had the second sock feeling, or when I had the first one done I knew that I had both together to wear. So I love this pattern, and if there's any self-striping yarn in this basket, it might be another pair. I'm actually wearing a pair today. They're a heel toe do-si-do, and to me it is a beautiful straightforward pattern. I use my typical 2.5mm, which is a US 1.5, I think, needle to knit them, 64 stitches, and I did the contrast heel and toe, and I used I'll show you both labels, even though I don't have the socks here. This was the London House Yarns label, and I used Fable, a plain Fable red. There was a mini with this, but I wasn't quite sure I would have enough for cuffs, heels and toes, so I used some Fable that I had. Love the socks. They've been worn and really enjoying wearing those over Christmas. They'll be washed and put away until next year. But the main event, the main thing that happened in December was the knitting of this beauty. I put together and sent an advent calendar to Selma this year. We hadn't planned to, but I just wanted to send her one, and in it I put 24 minis of just ends of wool that I had from projects, and I bought a few minis to add into it as well because I didn't have enough, and I kept some for myself. Each mini was 10 grams. I'll get it right this time. It was 10 grams. And Selma, we toyed with what to do. We weren't sure. We didn't want to knit another blanket. We weren't really into wanting to knit a shawl. We didn't want to knit socks. So it was kind of what to do. And it was Selma actually who found the pattern for the caramel cardigan. It's an Isabel Kramer pattern. It's a very early Isabel Kramer pattern, one of her first. It's a free pattern on Ravelry, which is fabulous. It's probably not one of her best written, but it was one of the early ones. And there was a little bit of confusion when we started to knit. It was a top down about this little bit. You knit the collar, the ribbing on the collar, and we weren't sure from the instructions whether you had to knit 10 rows before you started your increases for the raglan, which wouldn't be the norm. Normally you would start in under your collar, usually. But there appeared to be 10 rows that you had to knit. I thought you had 10 rows to knit. Selma didn't. I looked on Ravelry. I still was under the belief that it was 10 rows, but neither of us were totally sure. So I knit them and Selma didn't. So that's one of the only differences in our cardigan. I have 10 rows. That kind of makes the collar stand up a little bit more, I think. But the rest of the pattern was quite straightforward. It's a brilliant pattern if you want to knit a really straightforward and quick pattern. It is a double knit. It was written for double knitting, but because all my minis were fingering weight, we held it together with, and if you know Selma, a strand of mohair, and I used Rowan Kid Silk Haze in the cream colourway. So it was just something light. At the very beginning of this project, I said that I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out, and I was convinced I was going to look like Mrs. Weasley in the Chamber of Secrets. Not that that would be a problem. She's my favourite character, but I thought it would be really zany. But the finished product isn't. I also said I probably wouldn't wear this out of the house. It would be just for moseying about in the house. But actually I think I will. I'll wear this everywhere. It's an open fronted cardigan. There's no buttons or fastenings. There is, for want of a better word, a button band down each side, but no buttonholes. So ribbing down the sides, but no fastenings, which is lovely. You can wear it open. I'll stand up. You can wear it open, and that is how I'm wearing it. I thought I would wear it closed and wear it with a shawl pin, and I can do that. But I quite like the waterfall, comfy feel to this cardigan. So from here to I think the top of the sleeve are all my minis, and then there's a mixture of my minis and about, I think there's 4 or 5 minis that Selma sent to me for the rest, for the sleeves. I also added length when I had completely finished the sleeves as well. I wasn't overly happy with the length, and because it was really only an inch, slightly over an inch of ribbing, but I lifted out my bind off and added another 1.5 inches maybe to it, and it just sits nicer across my back and bottom. So it used the full 10 grams in each of the stripes of the body, but in the sleeves, obviously the circumference is smaller. I had thought of doing just one sleeve at a time and random so that the sleeves would be different, but there was an element of OCD there, so I wanted the sleeves the same as each other. The bands are slightly deeper than in the body, which is fine, and I would say the combination of both sleeves didn't use the full 10 grams. I actually have yarn left over from the sleeves, from all the colours in the sleeves, so I've wound those into a magic ball, and I'm going to put those into my Cozy Memories blanket. It's a granny stripe blanket. But so I would say maybe 6 to 7 grams were used in each, for both sleeves of each colour. I knit the full length of the sleeve, and they're both exactly the same length, but one hangs on my arm slightly shorter than the other. I think I would be inclined maybe at some point, and I might not even, but I might add a bit of length to the sleeves, just another inch maybe. We didn't do the shaping that is, neither of us did the shaping that was in the pattern for the sleeves. It was just a normal decreased sleeve with a ribbed cuff. We both have a ranunculus and both love the sleeves in the ranunculus, which they have no decreases at all, so it's just straight down, and then it's an I-cord bind off. And I've linked a tutorial will link a tutorial for the I-cord bind off in the description box. And it just, to me, gives a lovely, neat finish and pulls the cuff in just nicely. The only decreases in this sleeve are the row before the bind off. So I am absolutely in love with this. It is the toastiest, warmest cardigan. It's like the ranunculus. Both are knit in very fine wool. I have lots of Aarons and worsted weight sweaters, but I would say this is probably one of my warmest. It must be the combination of the mohair, just gives it that layering, catches the heat. And I mean, the other day I was talking to someone at the doorstep, and it was really cold, and I had this on and didn't put a coat on, and this top part of my torso was just toasty and warm. So it's really, really lovely. So you can actually knit this in any yarn that you like. It just depends on your gauge and the needle size you use. The needles recommended were a 4mm. I knit mine in a 4.5, and Selma knit hers in a 5, I think, which means her gauge is slightly looser. Hers looks more open than mine, but in every other respect they're identical, so we're twinsies. And it's been lovely actually over the last month, and through Instagram and the comments that were in the Vlogmas, that other people have now decided that you've decided to knit these yourselves, and it uses up scraps. The actual pattern's not written for scrap yarn. It's a beautiful striped cardigan, but it's 2 colours, very even and stylish looking, and ours are just used from minis. But it's a brilliant way of using up all those odds and ends, and just a really nice, for me, it's a cardigan, to sound mushy, that's full of a lot of emotion and a lot of, it's a friendship cardigan. Yeah, I didn't get to see Selma this year, even though we'd planned to, obviously, because of the situation, and it was lovely to do something together. So that is my caramel cardigan. It is finally finished. I'll finally stop talking about it and enjoy wearing it. What I'm working on, and I'll pause and go and get it. You'd think I'd be more organised on the first day back, on the 1st day of January, but I'm not. What I was working on from the time I finished the socks at Christmas was actually very similar, only it wasn't socks, but the pattern is incredibly similar, if not the same design. It's again by Kay Litton, who is Crazy Sock Lady Designs, and it's the Round and Round KAL. And so there, I will link it in the description box. The design is the same as the Heel Toe Do-Si Do, so it was really, really nice to do something that was different, but was familiar enough that I could just quietly get on with it and not really have to think about it. At the end of November, I think it was, I had ordered a mini skein set from Dragon Hoard Yarn. This is her label. She had put up a listing for Narnia based yarn, and it's a surefire way of getting me to part with my money if it's Narnia based. I love all things Narnia. I have it housed in a bag that I made a number of years ago, which reminds me of Narnia, and I have my Narnia pins that people have gifted me. It's the stories that first made me fall in love with reading, and they shaped my career, and I just love everything about them. I'm very proud of the fact that C.S. Lewis is a Belfast boy and from Northern Ireland. So there's just a lot of sentiment around Narnia. So when I saw the yarn, I loved every colour, but obviously wasn't going to ship every colour from America with customs charges. So I bought her mini skein set, which incorporated the main colours. We had I have them on the bands because it's easier to remember them. This creamy colour is Always Winter. This one was Spare You'll see them better when you see the cowl. This one is Tea with Tumnus, Cherry Cordial, and this one is Lantern Waste. It's greeny tones, but you'll see it better now in the cowl. The colours just fitted in with the storyline really, really well. So this is the cowl. It's the round and round cowl. And literally you go round and round. So it started with a rib, a 1x1 rib, and then you went into the pattern, and because I know the pattern so well, it just was keep going. I didn't really have to think. Once I got the first row done, I didn't have to think about it. There will be 3, with the yarn that I had, there will be 4 colour repeats. So this is a colour repeat from here to here. And I'm on the 3rd one. So it won't take too much longer. It's just a lovely meditative knit. I can sit in the morning quietly knitting, watching a podcast, or just in the quiet working away at this. I have worked at it a little bit since I finished this just during the day as well. So it'll not take too much longer. And it's lovely because the yarn has sparkle. It's merino nylon and gold stellina, and there is sparkle. Don't think I'm catching it there at all, but it's not so Christmassy that I can't wear this throughout the winter. It'll just be a winter cowl, and it'll scrunch up nicely because it'll be quite long by the time it's finished, and it'll block out a bit wider as well. So I'm looking forward to getting that finished. It shouldn't take too much longer. There's quite a lot on the needles. I have my Felix cardigan, which I put aside at the end of November so that I could work on my Christmas knits. It'll come back into rotation again. It should be fairly quick. I'm over halfway down the body, and then I've bands and sleeves to knit. And then I have my cast-ons. I have my Imogen tee to cast on today. I have my socks to cast on today. So there's plenty to keep me occupied. It's lockdown here until at least the beginning of February, full lockdown, so I should have a little bit of time to work on them. But that's really all I have for today. I hope this finds you well and excited about our knit-alongs. Remember to tag any of your knitting in Instagram if you're on Instagram with the hashtags. Chat away in the Ravelry threads. Those are now open and free for you to chat on, and just enjoy your knitting over the next while. We're all on the same boat, I would say. We're all under some level of restriction and have more time at home, and it's the perfect time to get a bit of knitting done. I hope you had a restful Christmas time, holiday time, non-celebrating time, but that it was restful for you, and that you are able to enter this year with some energy and positivity, and that negative won't change what has happened, but hopefully some positivity and hope will change the future and shape our future in this year. I hope that part of that is that we get to meet up again. You really do miss the physical meeting of people through this time, and I'm looking forward to meeting and seeing all my yarny mates again. So enjoy your knitting over the next few weeks. If you liked today, click like, subscribe, all that stuff, and I'll see you on the next episode.